Theft is the removal of property without an owner's consent. Taxation is the forceful imposition of property removal. It is theft. But unfortunately, the average person has not only had the wool pulled over their eyes as to this, they've even come up with their own excuses on behalf of the thieves to just make their job even easier for them in what can only be described as an epidemic of Stockholm Syndrome that most of the entire world is suffering from. So today I'm going to list the most common arguments we hear against this simple and true statement, and easily arrive at the conclusions that water is still wet, the sky is still blue, the sun still rises, and taxation is still theft.
The following justifications are what are called meme pathogens. 1. Taxes give you free stuff. Being robbed doesn't mean you get free stuff. Whether or not you get free stuff or not is totally separate from whether or not you are robbed and your property is stolen. 2. But it's used for good. It's used for good things. Still doesn't make it okay for your property to be stolen. Doesn't matter what it's used for, but it's the law. Legal and illegal is not right and wrong. The social contract. I don't know about you, but I didn't sign no contract. Who would build the roads? Workers? Road workers? Obviously you don't need tax for road workers to do their job and build the roads. In fact, they'd probably build better roads if they weren't getting robbed for half their income. People wouldn't pay if they had the choice. So you're admitting that it's theft. It's definitely theft then. It's not voluntary. There is no choice. But you use things that taxes pay for. You use things they fund, so you must consent. Somebody robs you, they buy a plate of food and they share it out and you go get some of that food. That doesn't mean that you were happy with and accepted that they robbed you. That just means you're going to get some of that food that they spent your money on, that they stole from you. Doesn't mean that you said it's okay for them to steal from you. Actually, wage labour is the real theft, according to the anti-whites that call themselves communists. You being paid for your labour, not just being a slave that has to work for nothing. Apparently that's the real theft. Not half of your income being stolen and put straight into the bank accounts, private bank accounts of actual billionaires, just people. That's not the theft. The real theft is you being paid for the work you do. Peasant. Alright, anti-white, who calls yourself communist. That's a strange take. So clearly, when being sensible and level-headed, looking at it logically for what it is, tax is, even by definition, theft. And every so-called justification, again, these are referred to as MPs or meme pathogens, is illogical and doesn't justify theft. Yet, if that's the case, how is it that we currently live on a planet with billions of individuals, hundreds of millions of which, perhaps billions of which, are currently employed, paying taxes on everything you purchase, income tax, taxes on top of taxes, alright? And it's accepted, people justify it, people make excuses for it, and almost no one at all speaks out against this worldwide theft. How? Why? The reason for this is because of narrative. It's a story in which you make and you call the theft something else. It's not theft, it's tax. Because in the real world, in reality, obviously, nobody's going to accept that they just bow down and be robbed, and that it's a good thing. I'm giving back to the community here, mugger. Take my wallet. Rape my wife while you're at it. Then here, take the keys for my car. That's not a normal reaction. But if you can make the person believe that handing over their property, allowing themselves to be robbed, is a good, noble, righteous, just thing, which supports the community and pays for the roads to be made, then, hypothetically, you would be able to convince even the entire planet, almost everyone, at least, almost everyone, to actually just accept and let themselves be robbed by their own will. And then they themselves would call it, instead of being robbed, most of them would just happily go along and call it tax. And they would pay their tax, not realizing, not ever seeing that in reality they're just being robbed. Their property is being stolen. That's all it is. Because most people never in reality, don't know reality. They only live inside their own head, their own virtual augmented perception of reality. Abstractions. And even the most grounded people still spend a lot of time in their head in abstractions, not actually perceiving reality for what it is, but instead perceiving their thoughts, which are painted onto reality to measure everything up. Put it into a nice, neat little box, and that's your perspective, your perception of reality. That's just how the human brain works. That's how our existence works. It could even be the case that it's just an unconscious story that unraveled itself. And no one, there was no individual who was like, how can I make people happily give up half their property? I know, I'll trick them and brainwash them into thinking that them giving up half their property is actually just paying tax and it's a good thing, and yes. That might not even be the case. There might not have been any individual at all who came up with any idea. It could have just been a subconscious, unconscious thing that unfolded, unraveled, and just took hold as part of culture, part of tradition, etc. And there could be no individual responsible whatsoever. But it doesn't change the facts of the matter that tax is just theft, and the only way that people can accept that it's not just theft is by living inside their own heads with what we just went over, these justifications, the excuses, the reasons that people make up to believe in something like tax, which again are called meme pathogens, or MPs for short. And then you have MCs, or meme curatives, which are the ideas which cure or alleviate folk of those justifications and excuses for wrong, harmful, self-destructive perceptions of reality, like a belief in tax. You have MCs, meme curatives, for meme pathogens, which are the justifications for this self-harm. In this case, it's a belief in tax. And these ideas are, again, things that I've gone over in this video. And so, humanity can only be freed of this self-enslavement by actually addressing these ideas, these reasons, these excuses, justifications, and then superseding them with these correct conclusions, correct perceptions of reality, which actually destroy the illusion and make it clear and simple and obvious that what is referred to as the meme pathogen, tax, is actually nothing more than you being robbed for half your property. And once enough people can start to make this internal change in their own minds and go free of the narrative which says that tax is a good, acceptable, normal thing, once enough people start to think in a new way and don't accept tax as normal and acceptable, then actual change can happen in the real world. Enough people can come together, stand together, and force some type of change and put an end to tax once and for all. But obviously, if people don't even understand that it's a problem, that it's an immoral thing, then nobody's going to stand up and try to put an end to it. Because again, they're still living inside their own heads where they think that it's not them being robbed for half their property, it's actually just giving back to the community and paying their tax. So, in order to make change in the world, we have to make change in the narrative, the story within which we live inside our own minds, our perceptions of reality. So we change our thoughts, and that will change our actions, which will change the world. So, there you go. Take it easy, folks. If you have any comments, any questions, leave them below. And if you thought this was an interesting video, chuck us a like, subscribe, share the video if you can. Cheers. Take it easy. Catch us next time.